Waking up, brushing your teeth, rinsing with a bright antiseptic mouthwash, and popping an over-the-counter antacid pill to soothe some early heartburn. This chart shows the risk of cognitive decline for patients using over-the-counter stomach acid blockers, known as proton pump inhibitors, for 4 or more years. The data reveals a massive 30 to 40% spike in the incidence of Alzheimer's and dementia for long-term users. And that minty mouth rinse? Using an antiseptic mouthwash twice a day can drive up your blood pressure by as much as 26 millimeters of mercury, inducing clinical hypertension in just 1 week. The very consumer products designed to soothe our daily discomforts and kill germs are actively laying the groundwork for severe cardiovascular and neurological decay. How exactly does suppressing stomach acid erode your memory? And how does rinsing your mouth with an alcohol-based liquid damage your heart? Modern medicine tends to treat the body in isolated segments. Cardiologists look at the heart, neurologists study the brain, and gastroenterologists handle the stomach. Yet there is a single biological mechanism linking all of these systems together. In 1998, a Nobel Prize was awarded for discovering a microscopic, short-lived gas that dictates how our human cells communicate with one another. That gas is nitric oxide. Maintaining its production in the human body is essential for daily health, and losing the ability to manufacture it is the biological prerequisite for most modern chronic diseases. The human body contains roughly 60,000 miles of blood vessels. To understand chronic disease, we must view this vast network purely as physical infrastructure. Nitric oxide is a signaling molecule produced by our blood vessels. When released, it signals surrounding muscles to relax, physically expanding the vascular pipes. The vascular lining's ability to manufacture this gas is called endothelial function. When healthy, these cells produce plenty of nitric oxide. But when production drops, blood flow restricts, causing hypoxia. Without nitric oxide, fats and immune cells act like glue, building up as hardened plaque. Cardiovascular disease is deeply tied to this structural collapse. Long before a heart attack occurs, the blood vessels have been starving for nitric oxide. This vascular infrastructure is just as critical for your brain. If you cannot produce nitric oxide, the dense network of microvessels feeding your brain tissue remains chronically constricted. This restricted flow means distinct regions of the brain stop receiving adequate oxygen. It also blocks glucose from entering the brain cells. Deprived of energy and oxygen, these neurons fail. Their proteins misfold into rigid structures, creating the characteristic amyloid plaques and tau tangles found in Alzheimer's. This brings us back to the stomach acid blockers. Your body requires a highly acidic stomach environment to synthesize nitric oxide and to absorb necessary minerals like magnesium. Proton pump inhibitors completely shut down this acid production. Suppressing stomach acid provides temporary heartburn relief, but over years of daily use, it dismantles the vascular supply lines your brain needs to survive. A similar systemic breakdown occurs with mouthwash, explaining how a daily rinse spikes your blood pressure. The human mouth hosts the enterosalivary circuit. This is a fragile, symbiotic ecosystem of non-pathogenic, healthy bacteria living on the back of our tongues. These oral bacteria consume food nitrates, reducing them into chemical byproducts. We swallow our saliva, and these byproducts hit our stomach acid, where they convert into nitric oxide gas, absorbing into the bloodstream to dilate vessels. But alcohol-based mouthwashes are indiscriminate antiseptics. They don't just kill bad breath bacteria, they completely eradicate the vital bacteria driving this production cycle. By striving for a perfectly sterile mouth every morning, you accidentally sever your body's primary nitric oxide supply chain and suffocate your cardiovascular system. Bathroom chemicals are only one part of the equation. Our broader, modern Western lifestyle actively suppresses our biological potential at every turn. Since the 1940s, industrial farming practices and a lack of crop rotation have stripped the topsoil of basic micronutrients. Even if you eat plenty of vegetables, the crops themselves often lack the trace minerals required for nitric oxide synthesis. At the same time, excessive sugar consumption initiates a process called glycation. Sugar is highly sticky at a molecular level, physically coating and disabling the specific enzymes inside your blood vessels that are supposed to make nitric oxide. We also miss out on a massive, free trigger for vascular health: natural sunlight. Specific wavelengths of ultraviolet and infrared light physically interact with the body, cleaving and releasing large reserves of nitric oxide that are safely stored in our skin and cells, sending it straight into our bloodstream. Between the ultra-processed, nutrient-depleted food we eat and the hours we spend indoors out of the sun, our modern environment runs in direct opposition to our foundational biology. The countermeasure to this is restorative physiology, giving the body what it needs to function naturally, rather than relying strictly on pharmaceutical inhibition to mask symptoms. This means adopting actionable daily habits, ditching the harsh antiseptic mouthwash, working with a doctor to wean off long-term antacids, eating nitrate-rich leafy greens, and spending 20 to 30 minutes a day in direct sunlight. The human body is remarkably resilient. Clinical studies show that simply stopping the use of daily mouthwash allows the oral microbiome to repopulate and blood pressure to begin normalizing in as little as 4 days. The ultimate biological advantage isn't found in an expensive new pharmaceutical. It is a microscopic, fleeting gas that our own bodies produce for free, as long as we stop getting in our own way.